Hi Wildings, welcome to your intuitive tarot card reading for the day on the Wilding Tarot channel. Today I decided to ask Spirit what your person's thoughts of you are today specifically. It was something I definitely felt called to channel today to find out exactly what it is that they're thinking in this moment. Obviously this will be timeless, so it's not today specifically in terms of a date, but today whenever you're seeing this, your guides will definitely bring you here for the right time and the right day for you, for when your messages line up with this reading. But obviously I'll be channeling I'll be channeling kind of like timelessly. I'll be channeling across like multiple timelines, getting messages from your person and bringing them to this reading. So as always, I've left a brief description of each reading in the very, very bottom of the description box. If you're practicing any sort of self-care, like avoiding triggers or only opening yourself up to certain readings, so you can always head there if that feels right for you. For everyone else, I would advise you to check in with your intuition to either pile 1, 2, or 3 to receive your reading for today. And wherever your intuition is sending you, I will see you there in a moment. Hey there, pile 1, welcome to your reading for your person's thoughts of you today. So if you chose this beautiful red crystal, then this reading is probably for you. As always, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. This is a general reading, so there will be some messages here for specific people and some interpretations of the cards that could be a little bit different for your situation. If your energy deviates from the collective in certain areas. But let's get general themes for your person's thoughts of you today, pile 1. Okay. So pile 1, we have the 7th house of partnerships. This also corresponds to Libra and Venus energy. It obviously has a lot to do with our relationships in life. We have the Mercury retrograde, which corresponds with Gemini and Virgo energy. It also corresponds with the 3rd house of communication and school, and the 6th house of like routine, lifestyle, work, health, and all that sort of stuff. Mercury retrograde usually brings with it like lots of communication, like and like sometimes it muddles the communication a little bit. But it tends to also bring this like very reinventive energy, even like through all the disruptions. We also have Aries energy, which is the first sign of the zodiac, corresponds with Mars. So it has a lot to do with our passions and power and drive, as well as our like self and identity. Then we also have the 11th house, which has a lot to do with the soul contracts that we've made in life, regarding like who we came here to like interact with and why, and what lessons we were like made to learn or agreed to learn with them. So it has a lot to do with like community, friends, like how we kind of fit in the tapestry of life when it comes to people. It corresponds with Aquarius energy, and both the Saturn and Uranus placement. So Saturn is kind of like that responsibility for like following our life path, and then the Uranus placement has a lot to do with like who we are as an individual and like what in life we like came to change or interact with in a way that's like unique to us. But let's get a little bit more specific using this traditional tarot. Spirit, can we please have messages about what pile 1's person is thinking today? Can we please have messages about what pile 1's person is thinking today? Can we have clarity on this Seven of Cups energy, please? And the Justice card, please. And Death. Don't know if you're going to be able to see both of these. Hopefully you can. Pile 1, this connection changed and awakened your person in a very, very real way. This Seven of Cups energy is Venus in Scorpio. Scorpio is like very transformative, and then Venus obviously corresponds with partnerships and like kind of Libra energy. So I think you definitely transformed the way this person views love and like appreciates love and partnership in their life. Potentially in the past, like I'm getting kind of like a little bit selfish vibes, and I'm not saying that they weren't responsible with this 10 of Wands energy, which is Saturn in Sagittarius, which is kind of like taking responsibility, kind of like especially spiritually for your life. Like I'm getting that they were like maybe responsible, but maybe not in a very spiritual way, maybe more of a like maybe more of like a everyday practical kind of way. And like I'm getting that they were like more interested in like being responsible for like their finances and kind of their career and like kind of getting ahead. Like they weren't necessarily being responsible in terms of like their spiritual like partnership and some of the soul contracts that they'd made with other people in this life. Like they were more concerned with kind of like looking out for number one rather than thinking about how they can serve like their people, so to speak, especially like their person, like their love connection. But definitely like today especially, they're like really thinking about how much this love changed them, and how different they are in life now, and just like how much more like kind of on the spiritual path they are. Like this Justice card is like also like Libra 7th house energy, so there's lots of like Libra 7th house Venus energy here. Yeah, from this Justice card I'm getting that like they're just like way more like spiritually moral rather than like moral in like a practical kind of like mundane 3D sense. Like they've definitely evolved a lot and they've like learned a lot of spiritual truths, and they've like really changed their perception on a lot of things. And definitely one of the things that I'm hearing that they changed their perception on is how important connection and relationship is to them. And so yeah, today they're thinking about how they can honor this connection better. And they're really thinking about like how this relationship ended and why it ended. I'm sensing from them that maybe they are taking some responsibility for there not being as much like abundant love and compassion and intimacy. Like maybe there's some fear of intimacy on their part. I'm getting that they were definitely way too practically focused and potentially way too focused on their career and finances, and way not enough focused on like spirituality and love and connection and like essentially what actually makes them feel happy and aligned. And like right now they're really thinking about how much like love and happiness and alignment they get from partnership, especially from their partnership with you, and like how much opportunity there is for them to learn a lot about how to be a really good support network for you, and like people in general. Like they're just figuring out a lot of stuff about how to show up in connections better, and where they've definitely been way too like self-focused and like almost selfish, like prioritizing themselves too much and not prioritizing other people to the extent that they want. And I'm getting that like they're not necessarily not focused on like being successful financially and stuff anymore. Like they're not focused on it. They're just like more balanced. Like this Justice card is like all about them being way more balanced and well-rounded as a person rather than being like very one-sided. But let's get some channeled messages. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. I don't understand myself right now. So I think you're the best thing that ever happened to me is very much this energy we were talking about where your person like really awakened because of this connection, and they're trying to understand themselves, especially on a like much more spiritual level. Like they're not really treating themselves as like kind of just a random 3D entity in life anymore. Like they're way more spiritually inclined, but they're still like unpacking a lot of stuff and still like kind of getting to the bottom of some of the objective like spiritual truths behind like a lot of their experiences, rather than like chalking it up to like bad situations or bad luck or whatever. They're definitely afraid that like everything that kind of went down in terms of the destruction of this relationship potentially caused them to like lose you forever. They're definitely afraid of that. They don't want that. That's not the outcome that they desire. But it's definitely something that's crossed their mind today in terms of a real possibility. So it seems like they're really like bunkering down on like how to make that not a thing, for sure. But yeah, this person's like really flourishing now because of this partnership. And today they definitely feel like they're flourishing, even though that there's like some fear-based stories and like still a lot more understanding to reach within themselves. Like they're just in such a better place. They're like so much more well-rounded, and they see themselves as really like flourishing. Like things can be hard and you can still be winning essentially. And that's how this person sees their current situation today. They've potentially had a little bit of a stalk of your socials or whatever today, because they're definitely reminiscing about this connection. Yeah, like this is such a synchronicity with this reminiscing, learning from the past energy. And they're probably potentially thinking about like reinstigating something with you and taking you on a date. I'm getting that they're probably planning that date today, but they know they're definitely not going to be ready to like initiate on some of these plans until they've dealt with a lot of this fear and like confusion on their part. But yeah, they're still very much attracted to you. They definitely fantasize about like reconnecting and going on a date, because like they actually really value all this change that you brought into their life. They see it as you bringing in a lot of positive change to their life, even though the change has been hard. So yeah, today they're definitely like thinking about all this change that's occurred, all this fear that they're like trying to overcome. And definitely they've been thinking about how attracted they are to you. Like that's definitely been something in the forefront of their mind, like definitely fantasizing about planning and setting a date, and definitely reminiscing on the past and like potentially like checking out a lot of your pictures. But a fiery climax approaches. Like there's definitely going to be some sort of shift when it comes to this connection. If nothing happens between the two of you in the physical, it might be something happening for your person on some sort of spiritual level. They might feel like way more awakened. We've also got you and your loved ones are safe. So I think this might have to do with like your person like spiritually awakening. Like I think spirit's like really taking them on this journey to just like be a lot more full in themselves, and for them to like feel safe within themselves instead of being confronted by all this like fear and confusion and like just like generally like not a good time. And I think it's also important for you to know that this path that the two of you are on is like divinely protected. Like there are mysterious little guides at work to protect the two of you through this time and through this transition for the two of you. So try not to worry if you are worried about your person. I trust in the divine timing of the universe. Yeah, I'm getting that this card came out because you just needed to hear that right then. Trust the divine timing. You guys are like being protected. Your path is like protected by spirit guides, kind of getting you where you need to go by teaching you the lessons that you need to learn, and honoring the soul contracts that you made in this life, and definitely kind of like reinventing yourselves and getting yourselves back on a better trajectory. So it's just really important that you trust the divine timing of the universe and trust that everything's happening the way that it's supposed to and when it's supposed to. But yeah, I think I'm going to leave that there, pile one. I hope you got everything out of this reading that you really wanted and needed. It's been a pleasure reading for you. My name is Jade Wilding, and I'll be on this channel doing more intuitive tarot card readings for whenever you need it. So until then, ciao. Hey there, pile two. Welcome to your reading for what your person's thoughts of you are today. So if you chose this beautiful smoky quartz crystal, then this reading is probably for you. However, as always with general readings, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. There will be some messages here for specific people, and some interpretations of the cards that could be slightly altered for your situation. So yeah, always bringing that intuition and discernment to every general reading, guys. But let's go ahead and get general themes for what your person was thinking of you today. We get messages for pile. Interesting. Okay, so we've got the second house of owning. It corresponds with Taurus and Venus energy. So Venus being like love and beauty, and kind of like feminine energy, and then the second house being like money and value, and like what it is that we like physically have. We also have the South Node, which is our life stats. Can be like karma to do with this life, past lives, or just like collective karma that needs to be cleared through our experience. We have two very woo-woo placements next. So we have the 12th house, which is ruled by Neptune and Jupiter energy, and Pisces. It has a lot to do with like kind of like spirituality and hidden realities and secrets and subconscious and all that sort of stuff. Then we have Pluto, which rules the 8th house of like transformation. I mean, Pluto itself is a transformative energy and rules the 8th house of endings and beginnings and transformation, and that like kind of Scorpio energy along with like Mars. Yeah, it also has a lot to do with like sex and metaphysics and like all that kind of spiritual stuff. But let's get more specific using this traditional tarot. So we have the Judgment card. Can we clarify this Judgment energy, please? Can we clarify this Seven of Wands energy? Can we clarify this page? And the Three of Wands, please. Ooh. Pile 2, your person's having a really tough day today. I'm going to be real with you. they are definitely feeling a little bit like kind of woe is me when it comes to love and romance and relationships. They're kind of in this mindset of like, oh my God, I can never get it right. Like, I'm never going to have what I want. I'm never going to have the like passion and romance that I want in my life. So yeah, they're having a really tough day mentally. Like, they're not having a good time. They're definitely being really, really hard on themselves about a lot of things, and definitely really doubting about whether they're going to be able to make things work with anyone, let alone you. So this judgment energy is like also 8th house, like beginnings and endings, transformation, like Scorpio energy. So we have some synchronicity there. And this 5 of Cups usually has a lot to do with like regret and loss. And you can see from this artwork that this person's like really focusing on like where they're losing a lot of energy, losing a lot of love, and just like really focusing on the loss of that, rather than everything that they've had as well. They're definitely feeling like they just like lost a lot, and like they're definitely focusing right now on everything they've lost and nothing that they've like been able to have or gain. This 7 of Wands energy, right way up, it's about this person like taking on lots of challenges and kind of like coming out victorious and like winning. But the other way around, it's like feeling like kind of the walls are closing in, like everyone's like bombarding you and wanting things from you and like just like taking from you and like kind of winning, like force and competing and like taking. This Knight of Cups is like a very passionate romance, like youthful kind of energy. Like think about kind of being in love as a teenager. It's that kind of energy. So they're feeling like that they're blocked from like ever feeling this way because of like all of these like kind of demons that they're facing, whether they're like external or internal, that are like preventing them from experiencing this like abundant, like passionate romance. And they're definitely very hung up on all the losses that they've experienced. So the 7 of Swords has a lot to do with betrayal, but like in reverse is like kind of like losing yourself in that and kind of like feeling like you brought it on yourself, and just like this 9 of Cups as well in reverse is like not feeling abundant or satisfied when it comes to love and connection, and like not feeling like you have enough. So yeah, this person's definitely today spending a lot of time kind of thinking about like all the ways they're not satisfied, all the ways that they've been betrayed by other people, and that they've betrayed other people because of their own pain and their own feeling of like lack. And them like ultimately feeling like they're never going to be able to really be in a team with someone and like experience that like harmonious love and long-term commitment. The 4 of Wands right way up is like the marriage card. It's Venus in Aries energy, so it's like kind of like the meeting of 2 individuals in like harmony and partnership. And the 3 of Wands on its own is kind of like a traveling teamwork kind of inspired connection kind of energy, but it being clarified by the 4 of Wands is like telling me that they want this like connection, but they fear that they're never gonna have it. And yeah, they're definitely like kind of really struggling today. They're really lost in all of their like stories and negative thought patterns and like all that sort of stuff. Like they're having a really, really hard day. It's definitely to do with their like karma and like subconscious and like kind of all of their programming and conditioning in life though. Like it really like is actually not about them, but about the stories that they've absorbed in life. So yeah, they're definitely having a really tough time. Messages that they would tell you is, I can't stop thinking about you. Yeah, I think a lot of their like like regret and loss feelings have to do with losing you. Like definitely you triggered a lot of their like past pains and the stuff from their subconscious, and like all of their kind of like karma and trauma and things from their past. And so that's definitely kind of what triggered them to be in all of these negative automatic thoughts and like negative false beliefs. And like they definitely can't stop thinking of you in a really positive way, like of how much they loved you, but also it's kind of bringing up a lot of negativity for them in terms of like it's reminding them of like what they lost and like all their fears when it comes to like, will they ever have this love that they really want. They're also thinking that you feel like home to them, and I think this is what is making them panic as well, because like you felt so good, you felt like home and they loved you so much, but they still couldn't make it work, to use their words. Like they can't believe that they loved you so much but couldn't make it work, and they're kind of like I guess like not accepting the gravity of like this unconscious mind and like all the conditioning that we get in life and how much that can derail us and how much like fear can kind of trump love in some ways. And that was definitely their like experience of it, at least. So the last card we have is I need this journey to understand my feelings. And like I think this is potentially coming from their 5D self. Like as I was saying, like they're having a very dull down day, so I don't think they're necessarily thinking this today, but their 5D self is definitely watching them really go through it today and knowing that they need to like go through it to like really understand their feelings and understand where they came from, and it's not their fault. It's like their unconscious conditioning and patterning. It's like actually really not that much to do with them at the end of the day. It's more to do with like their upbringing and society, like the societal influence around them, and like what they've been taught. So the first oracle we have is stargazing. When you gaze at the stars, you give yourself very focus. Your intuition will flow more freely and reveal what you need to know about the situation. So it might be worth meditating on this connection today. There might be more messages for you as an individual that might come through, especially from their 5D self that's with them in this time. There might be some messages to do with like a runner-chaser dynamic between the two of you, and like maybe some relationship problems and fears of abandonment. I think your person, so my eyes are drawn to this third-party interference at the moment. I'm thinking that your person might be kind of resigned like today that they're never going to have what they want, and so they're like, oh, maybe I should just like go hook up with someone else and like be with someone who's like not that love that they felt with you, not that beautiful love, but just like for the sake of someone being there almost. But yeah, I think like in their minds they'd much rather be connecting with you, and definitely their draw to kind of hook up with someone has to do with them being hurt and sad and separated and feeling lost and grieving the breakup and feeling really heartbroken. Like it's not it's not about actually wanting anyone else. It's about feeling like they didn't deserve you, and they're probably not going to deserve anyone that they're, or deserve that like full feeling of like abundant love and like just like that like kind of movie romance that they felt with you that they didn't really feel like they deserved to have. But I think all of this pain that they're going through is part of like a bigger plan for creating the life that they actually want to live and stopping these like old automatic patterns from running their life. And this is definitely this 5D energy coming through. Yeah, this is probably a dark night of the soul that's like part of their ascension. It's like at the moment really bad, but for the sake of getting this person to where they need to go to like ascend and transform spiritually, this like Pluto transformation card, like really important when it comes to like what's going through today especially, but just in general at the moment. It's all part of the plan for their like awakening essentially. Yeah, I think like they're not really looking at the bigger picture right now, but it is all happening for a bigger picture. Like all of this, especially what they're going through today, is part of a bigger picture, for sure. Like it's all part of a higher plan and in their awakening. So I'm getting that this is more how they're feeling than literal, like nothing will come of this situation. Void of Course of Moon is like really that dark night of the soul energy. Like this is where they're at right now. They're like really in the pit of despair and like really, really, really in the middle of it. And like, they're just really disconnected from this higher 5D self and like higher messages and spiritual knowing. They're like really, really, really disconnected from it, but they're supposed to be. Like that's part of the plan, part of the path, part of the ascension, part of the journey to get them where they need to go. So they need to like pretty much feel completely hopeless, and it'll be hard to hear that. Like you've got to let your person go to that pit of despair and feel like that they're like, this nothing will come of the situation was kind of the same energy of those cards. Like they really don't think that they'll have the love and connection and long-term commitment that they want. Like you've got to let them be there and let them find their way out in their own time. It's really important. I choose to accept myself just as I am because I am my own beautiful creation. I think this is a little bit about what your person's going through and like where they're getting to in terms of like being able to create the life that they want. But I think as well, this might be for you in terms of like definitely accepting everything that's going on and your person and yourself and like both sides of the situation as it is, and know that it's all like a very intentional creation by your higher self for this life, to teach you the lessons that you need to learn and get you to where you want to go and like essentially break you open to like a whole new way of like looking at life and love and all this sort of stuff. So really trusting in that and trusting what's being created for you, and like not resisting it. Like for example, if you were to like reach out to this person and try to comfort them right now, like you're not letting them go through this void of Course of Moon, of this dark night of the soul. You'd be like kind of enabling them and like coddling them, and that's not what they need. They need to go through it, pick themselves up by the bootstraps and get themselves through it. Yeah, it's really important for them to like to trust in their own power by exercising their own power right now. So that's definitely really important in terms of like the higher path with this. But I think I'm going to leave that there. This is like pretty heavy reading and a lot to take away. So I'm going to leave that there, pile 2. I hope you got everything out of this reading that you really wanted and needed. It was a pleasure reading for you. My name's Jade Wilding, and I'll be on this channel doing intuitive tarot card readings for whenever you need it, guys. So until I see you again. Hey there, pile 3. Welcome to your reading for your person's thoughts of you today, or what they've been thinking of you today. So if you chose this beautiful orange crystal, I believe it's carnelian, then this reading is probably for you. However, it is a general reading, so as always, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. There may be some messages for you, some messages that are not for you, and some interpretations of the cards that might be slightly different for your situation if your personal energy deviates from the collective in one way or another. But let's go ahead and get some general themes for your reading, pile 3, of what your person's thoughts of you has been today. Pile 3's thoughts of you. Healing. Okay. Got the Chiron placement. Pile 3 thoughts. Okay. This is interesting. Pile 3. We have transformative energy with the Pluto card coming out. This corresponds with the 8th house of beginnings and endings and Scorpio energy, and also the Mars placement as well. We also have the Mercury placement, which has a lot to do with Gemini and Virgo energy. So Gemini in the 3rd house, like communication and like kind of schoolwork and learning kind of way, and then the Virgo energy being that 6th house, like daily routine, health, work kind of vibe. So we've got Scorpio and Virgo and Gemini energy so far. We also have the Chiron placement, which signifies our biggest wound, our greatest opportunity for healing, and the place that once we've healed it, we are the greatest like kind of spiritual teacher for healing. And then we also have the fire element of desire. So this has to do with Leo, Sagittarius, and Aries energy, as well as the wand suit. And it obviously corresponds with a lot of usually physical desire, but also like intellectual, like inspired, creative desire as well. But let's get a little bit more specific using this traditional tarot. Interesting. I try not to say interesting, but things are very interesting. It's hard to not be interested in what comes out of readings, because sometimes things are just, you know, surprising, like what comes out of these things. Clarify this Devil and Death card, please. The Death card is also this like Scorpio energy, which I find very interesting. Pile 3, it seems like your person's very, very overcome with like a lot of desire and a lot of kind of like naivety when it comes to that desire. Like this Knight of Cups is like a very passionate, romantic, like kind of knight in shining armor energy. And it seems like your person's like definitely today really caught up in this like idealized fantasy of like coming into this connection and kind of like sweeping you off your feet and like wooing you and like kind of restarting this connection on a really different foot. But I'm saying that it's naive because this Death card came out in reverse. Had it came out the other way, I might have said something different, but this Death in reverse usually doesn't indicate the kind of like transformative sprouting to life in a really positive kind of like ending the old, starting the new, in a very like kind of in the flow of life way. When it's in reverse, it's kind of like almost not exploring the things that need to be destroyed, not destroying the things that need to be destroyed, and just like kind of like getting swept up in this like fantasy that it'll like kind of all work itself out and it'll all just happen, and not really doing the work to like get rid of the old patterns that would actually stop that from happening. So it seems like your person's kind of like, especially down this end, kind of ignoring some of the like inner animal and some of their conditioning that kind of stopped them from like sweeping you off your feet and like being this like very chivalrous romantic energy to begin with. Like they're kind of like ignoring that as if that's not going to come up again, because it will unless you deal with it. The Strength card in reverse is kind of like essentially losing to the animal within, like the like fight, flight, freeze, fawn responses, and all those animal very reactive responses winning and not being really in control of it, or at least aware of it so that you can like manage those responses. Yeah, the Knight of Wands is like usually mismanaged kind of direction, like not putting your energy in wise ways, so like kind of not directing your energy towards like really managing your own self. And yeah, this Judgment is another Pluto energy, so we have lots of kind of Pluto energy. So yeah, kind of definitely today your person's like caught up in these like kind of stories of like, oh, it's going to be so different next time. I'm just going to like sweep them off their feet and like all my stuff will be gone just because I've been through this pain. They think that it's gone, but what they're not realizing is there needs to be some healing. Like the pain is showing you where you need healing. Like going through the pain itself is not enough. It's about going through the pain and then healing it to create a different outcome. So yeah, definitely their thoughts of you are like a little bit naive, but it seems like they're not going to act on them, because I think deep down they do know that they're naive, and it's not going to work like that, and that they need to like kind of really go within and self-study, and especially when it comes to their own lifestyle and routines and just like how they're showing up in life. Like I'm getting that the fight, flight, freeze, like animal within subconscious patterns is like very prominent in their life. Like it's not just coming up in relationships. And so they're really going to need to go away and like kind of acknowledge that and deal with it and like befriend the beast, so to speak, and learn a lot about how to be a more balanced, well-rounded human, and like change some of those patterns by actually healing them. And eventually discover how to be like really aligned and happy and like in the flow of like their kind of higher self, more so than this like kind of 3D animal that's like kind of derailing them. So yeah, there's kind of like this overtone, like a very 3D kind of like being swept up in fantasy today, but like a very subtle undertone of like the 5D self of them being very aware that they have a lot to learn, a lot to like change, and a lot to heal for them to actually experience what it is they desire. But like this desire, like these fantasies, like that's not bad for them to be entertaining them, because it's really creating this burning desire to essentially do the work. And so there's, even though they feel very paradoxical and contradictory, that like you can't have all these like naive fantasies and then like you go and do the work. No, they actually like work hand in hand. Like the desire kind of like reignites that kind of discipline that you need to actually go and do the work. So they're actually, even though they feel contradictory, they're actually definitely working hand in hand for your person, in terms of them being able to create the life that they truly desire. But let's see what they would say to you today. So we have, we were not ready for all that happened, and I miss you and I want to see you soon. So yeah, this is definitely this short-term like fantasy and desire that they're really in today, and like kind of this naivety of like, if they come in and like woo you again, it'll all just like disappear. But yeah, definitely like kind of like in the 3D right now, like so overcome by desire that they're probably not acknowledge all the healing that they need to do to actually be ready. I want you in my life, but I'm afraid. So yeah, I think like the reason why they're not reaching out today, even though they're like kind of overcome with this naive burning desire and passion, is they can sense very subtly this like higher wisdom, like knowing that it's not the right thing to do and that there's still some like fear and healing that needs to be done. So yeah, like even though it feels contradictory and paradoxical, it's actually really important. Like they're actually a balance for each other. It's actually like a way to moderate the two. Like you can't be all fantasy and desire, but you can't be all spiritual development either. Like they need to balance off each other and be moderated by each other and like kind of reignite each other. Like the desire reignites the like need for spiritual development, and then the spiritual development kind of reignites the desire. Like they actually work hand in hand. But let's see what other messages we have. So we have cassette, outdated thinking, conditioning. Your person's probably like starting to heal a lot of those outdated conditionings. They're probably replaying a lot of conversations with you in their head. They're probably also keeping an eye on you, especially on social media. So the keys on the ring, the text that I'm drawn most to is making decisions. I think this person needs to make a lot of decisions in the short term about like kind of what next and how to like go about like building the bridge between this desire and the spiritual development that they need. Yeah, but I think they're going to be very inspired to grow, and they're going to make decisions that are in line with their growth and align with like coming more into balance when it comes to like being able to balance the like kind of animal side of themselves that's very reactive, but also the human side of themselves that's very responsive and like kind of higher knowing, and kind of like enter into this more abundant mindset when it comes to connections, but also just like being more abundant in life in general, because they're like kind of facing life in a much more integrated way. But yeah, I think like they're very dreamy at the moment when it comes to what they desire with you. But yeah, they definitely need to turn towards this like practicality of making it happen using like spiritual development. Like that's definitely a thing for them right now. What do you need to release? So there's probably a lot of past patterns that they need to release that they're like kind of becoming aware of, and this desire is kind of igniting this kind of self-reflection so that they can actually have what it is that they desire for sure. Yeah, so they're definitely going to be kind of like in this ebb and flow and like surrender, release slash like desire and like pursuing. Like that's going to be such a kind of like up and down for them in the foreseeable future, but like yeah, it's definitely a very interesting time for your person, I would say. But let's see if we can get a affirmation for either you or them. Okay, we've got 2. I radiate love. My heart is open to receiving the love that I deserve, and my inner being is connected to the divine wisdom of the universe. I think this is important for both of you to be aware of right now. I think maybe on your end there might be some like opening that's necessary, and like being willing to receive, not just give love, like also being willing to receive it. That will kind of encourage your person to like on an energetic level, like think more about what they're giving back and not just what they're taking. And yeah, trust that the two of you are both connected to your, like trust that the two of you are connected to the divine wisdom of the universe, that it's accessible from your being, and that you're both being guided by that wisdom and like connecting to that wisdom to kind of like, that's like that 5D like tug of like knowing, even if you're not aware of it in the 3D, of like kind of what to do and what's to come and what else needs to be acknowledged and healed and all that sort of stuff. But I think I'm going to leave that there, pile 3. I think that's enough to kind of take away for the day. But yeah, it's been a pleasure reading for you. My name's Jade Wilding, and I'll be on this channel doing intuitive tarot card readings for whenever you need it. So if you can like, comment and subscribe, that will help me stay on your feed. But until then, ciao.